I don't think I've ever been more fascinated with the lore, aesthetic, and explorative nature in a game more than The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It's truly a game that, while only an N64 game, seems to have an endless sense of wonders. And while another Zelda game like Breath of the Wild is nearly 10 times the size, it doesn't quite capture the same sense of mysticism. Hell, it was 2022, and I finally found the creepy Skulltula cave in Zora's Domain, which I did an entire video on. That's how vast the amount of secrets are in Ocarina of Time. It's a game filled to the absolute brim with them. However, that cave was intended to be found because it contains a gold Skulltula, and for whatever reason, it is the most obscure one in the game. But there are others that aren't quite so explainable. There are some things to this day that I and others online have yet to make sense of in any form or fashion. So let's delve in and talk about some of the most puzzling mysteries that still haunt me to this very day. The Running Man race. So when you make it to Gerudo Valley and free all the carpenters and make peace with the Gerudos, the Running Man who resides in the carpenter's tent challenges you to a race across Hyrule Field. A race that, try as you might, you can never win. Every time you attempt this race, no matter what the time, as long as it's at least less than 4 minutes, he will always say he beat you by a second. And you don't even see his character model at all during the race. For someone who beat you by a mere second, you surely would have seen him race by you, considering how competitive a race won by a mere second would probably be. You'll always find him at the finish line on the bridge to Kokiri Forest, waiting for you to inform you of his narrow victory. What's fascinating is how many people online claim to have beaten him, including this famous screenshot, and how the rumors ran so rampant, especially the one by Rusty Sporks, which was the first example of video quote-unquote evidence, even though this shit is as fake as a $3 bill. I absolutely love it. Video game rumors, especially the ones from the N64 era, were top-notch, and it's a time period that simply can't be replicated. As far as I can tell, this race is merely a troll with no real reward because, well, you can't beat him. So how can you get a reward when you can't even win the race? The fix is in! The Sky Temple. Oh, yes, this old chestnut. Did you ever ask yourself, why is Link just handed the Light Medallion? There are 7 sages, but only 6 temples. Something's missing. So of course this would have to mean that there's a hidden temple somewhere in the game. I mean, take a look at this screenshot. I mean, that's it, right? Huzzah! The temple is hereby found. Case closed. Rumor confirmed. It's a done deal. Nope. It's actually a screenshot of the mysteriously textured grotto in the Sacred Meadow. And it sure does look weird. I mean, why does it look like this when all the others have dirt walls? Was this indeed a recycled asset from the Sky Temple? The weird thing is, why is there even a Sky Temple rumor? Why would the Light Medallion come from the Sky Temple when all the other medallions are named after their respective temples? The Light Medallion is given to you in the Temple of Light, which is where Rauru resides, the sage who gives it to you. So he has a temple, it's just not playable, and can only be seen in the cutscenes that take place when the sages are present. So Rauru does have a temple. He just wasn't captured by Ganondorf. The Skulltula Cave in Zora's Domain. As I mentioned before, I did an entire video on this, so I highly recommend you go watch it. But needless to say, this place is a really weird and creepy place where there are invisible Skulltulas that can only be seen by the lens of truth, and the terrain makes them behave in a rather odd manner. So yeah, go watch the video to see and hear more. Where have the stall children gone when Link becomes an adult? I remember finally beating the Deku Tree as a kid on Christmas in 1998 and making my way to Hyrule Castle when all of a sudden the drawbridge started to close as a wolf's howl could be heard as night fell, and a bunch of skeletons started emerging from the ground. This startled me as an 11-year-old and I started to panic. I didn't realize that there would be a price to pay for staying out in Hyrule Field for too long, and it was a good way of showing that danger and surprises were around every turn in Ocarina of Time. Decades later, I started thinking about the topic of this video, and I asked myself, what about the stall children? Where do they all go when Link becomes an adult? Ganondorf has taken over Hyrule, and Hyrule Marketplace has been overtaken by the Re-Dead, and we're introduced to more menacing enemies like Wallmasters and Stalfos. But the stall children are all gone. Wouldn't skeletons rising out of the ground fit the vibe of the Ganondorf takeover better? It's odd that they implemented this into the child Link side of things when the more menacing atmosphere of adult Link's environment would be better complemented by it. It's an odd choice in retrospect. The Poe Collector. Isn't it odd that when you transform into adult Link and you make your way through the tarnished Hyrule Marketplace and go to check what else has changed in the guardhouse that once housed the guard who expressed that he wished something exciting would happen, like ghosts showing up and how he's interested in them and studies them as a hobby, and then ominously, the Poe Collector sits in his very spot. Could this be the guard? Did he transform into this strange creature that now requests Poes, which are ghosts, be delivered to him? I think it's a very strong possibility, and I do believe this correlation is meant to be realized by the player. The Lakeside Laboratory Shark. You're sure to come to this place a few times, and it's actually a cool little place. It's part of the Bigoron Sword side quest, but let's talk about the pool for a moment. Once you get the iron boots, you can take a look inside the cage at the bottom of the pool and see a photorealistic render of a shark. Why exactly is this odd? Well, for one, it's photorealistic while everything else is rather cartoony in this game. And second of all, besides dogs and rather low detailed fish, there isn't any real animals in the game. There's enemies based off animals, but they're all pretty fictional. And this is a real ass looking shark just sitting motionless at the bottom of the pool. And to further elaborate on this head scratcher, by photorealistic, I mean it's actually more like a photo than a character model. It's very bad quality too, which makes it even more unsettling, like he just phased into the game against the developer's will. Of course, the 3DS remake had to fuck up the allure of this shark by making him look high res and more cartoony, and make it actually fit in with the world. So who the fuck wants that? I want my low-res photorealistic shark, yeah. But anyway, why does this creepy scientist have this shark locked away at the bottom of his pool? Well, I guess every creepy scientist needs a creepy shark to keep him company. Aw. The man who lived where the well is. Well. Once again, I did a video on this topic, but it deserves a mention here. In Kakariko Village, you're told by an old man the story of a man who once lived in a house where the well now sits. He says, a long time ago, there was a man in this very village who had an eye they said could see the truth. Now, usually, you have to train your mind's eye most strenuously to actually see the truth. But this fella, no, they said he had a different way of doing things. His house stood where the well is now. Well, that's pretty ominous, wouldn't you say? It's very likely that this very man of whom he speaks is now Bongo Bongo, and the person became this evil being. I mean, this guy was obviously the owner of the Lens of Truth, and Bongo Bongo was sealed in the well. and the Lens of Truth is conveniently hidden in a chest inside the well. A bit too convenient, I would say. I highly recommend you watch my video on the Shadow Temple for more intriguing lore and theories surrounding this point. Well, I'm going to wrap this bad boy up with probably one of the biggest rumors of all, obtaining the Triforce. So, in an early build of the game, which was actually the beta build, Link can be seen actually acquiring the Triforce, and when the final product was released, the Triforce was unobtainable. So of course, everyone and their mama had their own theories and even methods for collecting the Triforce. Of course, none of them worked, and you can't collect it. But that didn't stop legions of folks online from coming up with a seemingly endless supply of rumors, including throwing a bomb into the very center of the lava pit beneath Ganondorf's castle, and doing something we mentioned earlier, beating the Running Man. I mean, the Triforce on the menu that sits in the middle of the circle of medallions had to fit the 3 Triforce pieces, right? Why was it there after all? It couldn't just be there for mere decoration. This rumor actually is pretty cool because I like how it encouraged many people to explore. Because what if that particular method of collecting the Triforce was false, but there was still indeed a way to obtain it? Maybe it was the extra key in the water temple. Maybe you missed the smallest of details in an area and needed to explore a little more thoroughly. Although some may view these as cruel hoaxes that led to wastes of time, I viewed them as a valiant effort to keep an aging game alive and well and relevant. And it still is very relevant to this day. So guys, there you go. There are some of Ocarina of Time's biggest mysteries, the biggest rumors, and some of the more interesting pieces of lore associated with this classic game. So, did I miss anything? What are some of your favorite rumors, lore, and mysteries surrounding Ocarina of Time? Have you ever beaten the Running Man? Yeah, right. Well, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to discuss. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and hit the dislike button if you fucking hated it. Any contributions on Patreon are always greatly appreciated. And thank you all for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.